Let's move off the heavyweights and we'll talk about the heavyweights again because obviously one of them is in your stable. Let's talk about you and what's going on with you. You've got a nice stable in your hands right now, don't you?
Yeah, busy. It's built over the years, and I don't know where it come from, to be honest, Simon. It's like literally I never had any plan of being a coach.
Yeah.
I just Steve Wood asked me to train Tommy Coyle one day, 2013, as a favour.
I like Tommy Coyle.
Yeah, and then it just snowballed from there. Yeah.
I remember having that conversation with you actually because we started working on Sky together, didn't we?
That's right.
When you retired, and yeah, you didn't have the interest in training at all. You just sort of fell into it by mistake.
Yeah, doing Tommy a favour, and the first proper fight was him versus Derry Matthews outdoors in Hull, and he performed brilliantly, and then just walked onto a big left hook, got knocked out. And he cried in the changing rooms and said, "Please, will you work with me after this?" And I said, "Yeah." And then I was never away from it from then.
Let's talk about Dave Allen. And Dave Allen's got a big fight coming up against Makhmudov, who some of the myth has been dispelled with him in terms of what Ajak Cabello did to him a year ago, which no one really saw coming, and it was a hell of a performance, and it showed certain aspects of Makhmudov in a different light than people were perceiving. He's gone on to get some results again. What's the thinking behind taking on this?
Well, I think
fella,
you know Dave,
of course,
and he's one of the most nicest, most unique boxers I've ever come across. And in all honesty, he's pretty straightforward. He said, "I just want someone who's going to scare me to death," because the vast majority of his career, he's never trained properly for a fight, Dave.
Yeah.
And thankfully, over the last 5 years, we've built this relationship where he's sort of gone in and out of boxing. He was walking away, he's come back in, he's walked away. He took the Fraser Clark fight on short notice. And in all honesty, and we've had this conversation, I believe he asked me to coach him for that fight, not necessarily because he wanted nothing more other than he knew I wouldn't let him get hurt, in the sense that, he wasn't fit and he would do his best. And that's what happened. Once he got past the point where he sort of had that puncher's chance and he was too fatigued, then I saved him from himself. And in all honesty, now in hindsight, that's probably saved his career, because now he's put himself in a position, he's committed to the sport properly now. I think kids have changed his life, which he does the vast majority of the time with people, and he's now put himself in a position where he can potentially change it forever. And he's probably one of my favourite fighters I've ever trained, because he's just such a lovely, beautiful, down-to-earth kid who's so unassuming but doesn't realise how talented he is. And I think I saw something in him 5 years ago, and every time he came back to me and went, "Jay, will you do me a favour and work with me?" And I was like, "Dave, listen, I will, but you've got to take it serious this time." And each time he did, he got a little bit more serious, a little bit more. And that first fight with Johnny Fisher was like a light bulb moment.
Right.
In that 5th round, he came back, he'd had him down, and I said, "See, this is what I'm telling you. You can do anything if you put your mind to it." And ever since then, he's been on a roll. And I don't know what his ceiling is.
But this is a big step up, isn't it, from Johnny Fisher now?
Yeah.
And the opportunities that exist for it. So do you think it's a big step up, or do you think it's a natural progression?
I think the risk reward is worth it for Dave at this stage of his career. Now, he can't afford to take over fights. He needs, if he's going to be moving in that trajectory where he needs to earn good money and change his family's life, this is the type of fight which he's one win away from fighting somebody like a Parker or a Deontay Wilder.
Is that the reason why you didn't take the British title fight with Jamie TKB? Because that was obviously the dream of his, to win a British title.
Wait, no,
you sort of
we wanted
gone
that
past
fight.
that.
No, we wanted that fight, and the board put Fraser Clark in as mandatory instead, so that took the option away. We did actually want the TKV fight, but for no other reason. Dave has always, that his dream has been to win the British title, and we was willing to take that fight, and we wanted to take that fight. When that was took away, Dave picked, in his opinion, the most dangerous opponent to make sure that he trained properly. And I swear to God, I've never seen him as fit, and we've still got 7 weeks out. And each time from that first fight, he just got better and better. And I keep saying to him, nobody knows where your ceiling is. The amount of heavyweights 10 years ago who were saying, "Tell you what, Dave Allen sticks at this and applies himself properly, he'll be a world champion." And for whatever reason, he didn't. But in my eyes now, I'll look after him to maybe we can win a British title here, to the sky's the limit here for you.
Because he's a very different animal now than the person that was vanquished by David Price, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
And ultimately the fight, which was the fight that he felt he let himself down in, which he calls himself, unprofessional, whatever he said. You said, I think you're wrong. Was that the fight against Fraser Clark?
Yeah.
Where he said he quit.
He said he quit, and he didn't quit.
No.
By no stretch of the imagination. I pulled him out.
Right.
I think he's one of these guys, Dave Allen, that is immensely talented and never been committed to the job. And if you're not committed to this job, then you're in big trouble. And I think that he's still young enough, though, isn't he? What is he, like 32 or something now?
He's just turned 33. But here's the weird part about this is Dave picked up so much ring craft in those years where he wasn't fit because he was fighting such good fighters, and the experience what he's got and the way he had to look after himself because he wasn't conditioned. He's now carrying that into the stage of his career where he's got all that experience, that durability, that ring craft, and now he's fit with it, and he can apply his offensive stuff added to the defensive stuff what he's picked up over the years. He's created such a rounded fighter.
Well, he talked the other day about being in the gym with Pat Brown and Jack Catterall and yourself, have given him a different way of looking at things, a different motivation. Do you think that's been a pivotal directional change in his mindset?
I think you'd have to ask him that, but in my opinion, I think just the fact that he knew that I was going to care about him and look after him, even just totally forgetting about the boxing side of it. He's a bit of a deep guy, Dave, and I think he knew I understood him. It wasn't really about a boxing thing, and then as time's gone on, the boxing sort of side of it grew and grew and grew. But I think he just knew I was going to look after him.
How do you prepare for someone like Makhmudov, who's a giant of a guy? Very, very strong. Like, how do you get those sparring partners in?
I think this situation's Johnny Fisher on steroids. Metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a bigger, harder job than Johnny Fisher. The similarities are there. Big puncher, very aggressive, not very defensively aware, and Dave Allen coming into this stage of his career now with all that experience and the conditioning has got a massive chance of beating him.
To take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Can I move you on to another one of your fighters, Jack Catterall? I'm a big fan of Jack's. I have to admit, I think we were all in the camp that we felt that when Josh Taylor fought him first time round that Josh would outclass him. He didn't. He lost the first fight, Josh, and it should never have been a situation that Jack didn't get all 4 belts. I feel desperately sorry for Jack that he's had to go through a series of fights until he reached one point with Arnold Barbosa where he got undone when fought Regis Prograis. Jorge Linares had one fight too many to win a world title, and he should have a world title. So he's gone in against Harlan Eubank, gone up at 147, won that fight. What is the landscape for Jack now, and what are the opportunities that exist for him? Because we're in the camp with you, mate. We think there was absolute injustice. We think that Jack should be a world champion, and we think that perhaps he should have gotten a world title shot perhaps earlier than having to keep on waiting until eventually he caught Arnold Barbosa on a good night.
I felt like he deserves to be a champion at 140. I feel like those days are probably behind him now. Yeah, right. I think he for the last year or so, couple of years, he's been sort of stuck in between. He's real tight at 140, and he probably wasn't quite big enough to fill out. And it just seemed like overnight, he was past that point. The Eubank fight was suggested, came up, and it was spoke about at 147. And I said, this is the ideal sort of move now. Let's do that. Big, Eubank name at the time because of the Ben Eubank thing, and I did say I don't feel like it's going to be a good fight to watch, and we've got to be careful the way we match Jack. But moving forward now, I think they're talking about maybe Echo Esserman. That's because he's the guy who beat Josh Taylor. And there's talk of Ryan Garcia as well. So there's some decent fights.
Well, I was going to ask you about Conor Benn. Esser Eckerman is a good fight. I remember watching Esser Eckerman beat Chris Kongu, didn't he?
Yeah,
a few years ago on one of the undercards.
Tough guy.
But what about the potential of a Conor Benn fight at 147?
Yeah, I mean that's any fight at 147, and we're still in the same situation. My confidence in Jack Catterall has never wavered. We've trained him now for I think it's 8 years, and the improvements over the years, it's been very subtle but very obvious to us. And I didn't even really understand how good he was really when he first came to me. He was British champion when he came to me, and watching him on TV and actually witnessing it in person, the subtle things what he does, the craftiness what he's got in that general ring craft like I'm talking about Dave, it's unbelievable to watch. So I mean, we can keep banging on about the past for forever. He should have been a world champion. He's not been. I wanted him to be a 140-pound world champion because that was his weight division. But I don't care
Where he wins the world
what
title.
weight, who against. I just want him to be a world champion. He can have all the money in the world, but that world title on your mantelpiece, that pride, he deserves it. He should have been a world champion.
How's the cut healing up now? Because that was a bad cut as well.
Yeah, he's had it redone. So he had it reopened by a specialist because the muscle was detached a little bit.
Yeah.
So he overlapped the muscle, reattached it, and in all honesty, the scar was about that thick at first, and he's redone it, and you can't see it now. So he's done a tremendous job.
I mean, are you saying that he's categorically done at 140?
No, not really. No, he has said if I needed to for the right fight, I would go back down.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you next, because what is the best opportunity, given the fact that we know the past is unjust, right, and we're trying to create a just present, right? Which do you think he's closer to getting an opportunity for a world title again? Do you think he's closer at 140 or closer at 147?
I'd probably say 147, and the reason being, if, for instance, for argument's sake, if he boxes Echo next time, and I believe that's a good. It's a stylistically, it's a fan friendly fight. So that's the fight that those type of fights we want to be going for. If he beats him, I believe Eddie would look at the winner of Crocker and Donovan then.
Right.
So I think it's an easier path for him to go on 147 than it is on 140.
I think also, James, when a fighter gets to a certain stage of his career and he's caught between weights like that, you go, sometimes
you've got
it's
to
the weight that beats you, not the fighter.
You've got to allow yourself to fill out into the biggest, stronger type of version of yourself at that weight, because if you get stuck in between and keep trying to drag yourself down, I mean, obviously, I'm not comparing Jack to Roy Jones, but just Roy Jones going to heavyweight and then coming back down to light heavyweight, the implications of it are massive.
That's right.
I had Pat Brown in the studio about a year ago, very confident, and obviously we've seen the results building up now, and the expectation of this lad is very high. Did he come in with Sam? He did come in with Sam. What do you think about Pat Brown?
I first caught my eyes on Pat Brown was in the Summer Olympics in Paris. So he was one of the kids that went out. He went out in the first round, actually, lost to a Brazilian kid, tough kid. But straight away you go out of all the Olympians that were there, all the kids that we had in the British squad, he was the one that was going to make it as a pro, because stylistically that was his game. So yeah, he was the catch of the Olympics, really. Yeah. You know, forget anyone that
everyone was talking about.
He was the catch of the Olympics, and I like him a lot. I think that he throws a lovely straight right hand through the middle. He loves doubling up with those hooks to the body. Very fan friendly. Sells got a lot of tickets. Good personality as well. I've seen what goes on in the gym as well. You know, and that's important in a gym. By the way, when you've got that family unit, but the atmosphere is good. It's not so regimental. Like, you get on with your work, but there's a little bit of fun factor in there as well. And I think that's important in a fighter.
It is very important. Pat Brown's a beast. I promise you. Like, I've been around this. I've been around the sport for 35 years, and I don't want to overcook it here now, but like along the lines of, he could be one of these like fighters who've lived in the memory for a long time. Right. He's going to be involved in some exciting fights, but the way he goes about his work ethic, he's so powerful and strong for a cruiserweight.
So what is the game plan for him over the next 12 or 18 months?
I think, from going back to our conversation before about Moses, not dissimilar to that, but Pat is a little bit older than Moses, so I think he's 25 or 26. Pat even maybe. So we can't afford to hang around. We have to move quickly, and I think the plan is certainly by this time next year he's boxing for the British title.
So that's Vidal Riley would be the British champion. Obviously he's going to be looking to kick on as well, but you're sort of falling into that, because when you make that ground up, you're sort of there or thereabouts.
Of course, so we're talking 12 months, and in that 12 months I'd want to be getting him the type of experience what we've just spoke about, about where we're putting him in with someone who maybe is not a world beater, but who's tough as old boots,
like Chev Clark or someone like that,
and he's going to maybe drop a couple of rounds too, where you test his temperament, his conditioning. We've already started sparring him 8 and 10 rounds now to make sure that he's getting used to it. His next fight's an 8-rounder, and the problem you've got is a good problem, because he's blasting these kids out and he's doing numbers on kids who you think might give him rounds. So it's not ideal, but it's a good problem to have.
I mean, obviously the cruiserweight division brings a degree of attention. It's one of those divisions that finds its way lost often, doesn't it? Because everyone has to step up to heavyweights to make some money. Is he built to become a heavyweight at some point?
He will be a heavyweight eventually. Right. He's a big cruiserweight, big strong cruiserweight, and I'd guess by the time we get into the point where we win the British title, I don't think it'll be that far off then that we'll go, let's just bite the bullet and try and push him into position for a world title. So I'd guess the plan would be something along the lines of British title this time next year, international title to get him a ranking, and then early in 27 fight for a world title.
It's interesting the transition from the cruiserweights that are moving up now, like Lawrence Okoli's just done it, hasn't he?
Richard
Riakporhe, and you go like the next generation of heavyweights. Even Moses Atama is not particularly big. He's I think he's 6'3" or something. But he's quite a small for a heavyweight. I think the next generation of heavyweights actually would suit Pat Brown because they're not a big generation.
Not well.
Does that make sense? Like to what
three or four of them moving up from cruiserweight, they're in the same boat as him.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, he's sparring heavyweights all the time because we can't really get him sparring. It's a nightmare. Again, good problem to have. But I think Pat, by the time he gets to age 30, he'll be one of those fighters where everyone's talking about him. He's going to be so exciting to watch, and he's going to be involved in good fights. That's the thing. Is nobody wants to watch boring fights.
No. Without wanting to put a label on him because he's his own man. Will he be in a situation where he's good enough to eclipse the perception that people have of someone like Jai Opetaia? I'm not suggesting that we rebrand him the next Jai Opetaia because Jai might step up to heavyweights.
Yeah.
Is he good enough to go to that level and be considered to be the cruiserweight that everyone is fearful of and dominates the division?
Yeah, I believe he is. I believe if we turn around, so I'm being the Ben Davison thing here, where I go, I believe if he stepped up now and boxed for a world title, he would win.
But that's
just the experience in between what I want to get him first.
But Jane, that was the point we was making sort of earlier on. You go, the trainer knows. Like I know what Simon was saying. Yeah, but he's not been tested yet. I go, but day in, day out in the gym, when you're having those hard spars and you see your kids getting cracked on the chin and they see them maybe possibly go over or whatnot, No,
and I'm not, and that's why I'm saying I know, I believe he can do that. I also know he needs those rounds first before he does it. Yeah. Definitely.
Brilliant. Well, we'll look forward to it.